If I think about how much time I've wasted over the years fiddling around with PowerPoint slides, it's pretty scary, and I'm sure I'm not alone. So if you can relate and you've thought there has to be a better way, this could be the solution we've been looking for, a completely new approach to building slide decks using AI. It's a tool called Gamma.app, and I've been playing around with it for a week or so, and it's pretty impressive. So today I'm going to give you a high-level overview of Gamma and show you how to rethink building slide presentations with an AI-first approach. Welcome to My Way or the AI Way. I'm Scott Davison. I started this show to start trying to do things the AI way instead of the old way that I've always been doing them. And PowerPoint's a great example of that. It's been around since the early 90s, and we've basically been building presentations in the same way ever since. Today, I'm going to show you a new way of building slide presentations using an AI tool called Gamma, which is faster, better, and a lot of fun. So I hope you enjoy this. Let's get into it. I'm going to screen share here and show you how it works. Basically, you go to Gamma.app or just Google Gamma, and you'll see here it's a web-based tool like all these new AI tools. And they're now offering to create AI presentations, documents, social media, and websites. So they now offer things in addition to just doing presentations, but very much this was developed as a tool for doing presentations, and that's what I'm going to be showing you today. But if you like what you see, be aware you can also use it to create social media assets in a similar way, and even websites now will build websites using the same technology. But let's take a look at presentations. If you haven't joined yet, you can start for free and you just log in using your email address. And the first time you log in, there'll be a short questionnaire where they ask you a little bit more about you just to work out who you are and how you're going to be using it. And then you drop straight into it. And this is the page. We can go ahead here and create a new presentation using AI. And they offer three different ways to get started. One is that you can paste in text if you've got an idea of what you want to do already, or you can import a file, an existing file. And I'm going to show you each of these scenarios, but let's start with the most impressive one in terms of the demonstration, which is you can generate a presentation from scratch using a prompt. This is what they call one-shotting it, where you can literally just tell it what you want and it'll go off and create that presentation. Now, to be honest, in a business context, I think it's unlikely that you're going to just want to create a presentation from a prompt. Usually you want to do a bit of planning first. But for the purpose of the demonstration, let's imagine a scenario where you're a relief teacher, an emergency teacher, and you've been called in to cover the Year 10 history class, and you've got 10 minutes before the class starts and you haven't prepared anything. So you might want to jump in here and create a presentation on today's topic, which is the moon landing. And you can literally just type in a prompt here, something like this. I'm running a Year 10 history class. The topic is the moon landing. Please create an engaging 30-minute presentation for 15 to 16-year-olds. Include historical context, the build-up, the key people, the key facts and figures, and a compelling narrative. Include a few interactive moments and finish with a short pop quiz, which is always a good way to test that the students have been paying attention. Obviously, for Year 10s, 15 to 16-year-olds, make it fun and make it memorable. So we just paste that prompt in there or type that prompt in there, and straight away we go off and generate an outline. And what it's doing here is it's using some of the other AI models, the LLMs like ChatGPT or Claude, to sort of do the thinking and come up with a basic outline for this presentation. And look, within seconds, it's come up with, a slide-by-slide outline that talks me through how it's going to present it, covering the Apollo 11 mission, the legacy. There's about 10 different sections there, and finishing with a short quiz as requested. I can then choose the amount of text per card. So I want to keep this, normally I would do minimal, but perhaps for a history lesson, let's keep it concise. You can choose a visual style that you like, and then you can apply images. Now, this is really clever. What it's doing here is accessing different AI image tools, such as Ideogram and Google Imagen and probably ChatGPT as well. So it can access the different ones, but you can choose whether you want to use stock photos, whether you want to use AI images, which are more sort of realistic photograph type images, or illustrations. So for this one, I'm going to use AI images just to give you an example of what they look like. And you can see, you can choose here, photorealistic, abstract, 3D. Let's go with abstract images, and I can add extra keywords to give it some style ideas. So let's just make this educational. So there you go, literally within less than a minute, I've put the basis of the presentation style together, and we go off and generate. And this is where the magic happens. Now, generating that set, it takes 20 seconds maybe, and you can watch it developing this slide presentation in front of your eyes, which is quite amazing. So here it comes, 10-slide presentation, humanity's giant leap. There's some timelines in here. John F. Kennedy's famous quote. I'm glad that's part of it. Here we can meet the Apollo 11 crew. There's a timeline, facts and figures. So exactly the type of thing you would want to have in a class on this topic. And look, it's doing it in front of our eyes, which is quite incredible to watch. Here's the interactive quiz, and here's the answers and final thought. So that was less than a minute. I've got my presentation ready to go. I've still got 9 minutes to spare. Obviously, I can go in and tweak that a bit, which I'll do now. But the basis of the presentation is ready to go from that single prompt, looking professional, but also laid out in a really, really concise way and drawing all those key facts, which is gone off and found using AI. Truly amazing. So it's actually offering me to show me how I can customize and edit this. So let's do that quickly. This is useful to look at. So Gamma's using cards to contain your content. They call them cards instead of slides, but it's more or less the same concept. And every card is made up of blocks that can be edited. You can obviously go in and edit this just as you would a PowerPoint slide. But really where the magic is you can edit it using AI. For instance, this is the front page. Maybe I want to redo that and make it more. Let's see if I can redo this using a real life photo and make it more impactful. And I can just type that in as if you were working with the designer and telling them what you want. And here it goes. It's working on that, and it's redesigning that specific slide or that specific card, as they call it. And yeah, it's changed the image. It's made a few tweaks. In that case, it's probably much the same. So I'll go back to the original version here instead of the suggested version. But yeah, this is how it works. You can go through and either edit things yourself, or you can click on a particular element or a slide and ask. At any time, you can ask AI what you want to change. So it's like chatting with the designer, telling them what you want. So you've got the two options. Either you edit it yourself or you use AI to edit it using prompts. Now, I'm on the free version of Gamma here, and it's actually pretty generous. You get a certain number of tokens, but I won't use them all up on this example. But each time that you're asking it to do something using AI, you're using some of your free tokens. And yeah, here's my presentation ready to go for my Year 10 history class. I click on present, and very professional looking slides. You can see here as I click through it, it's got some basic animation, consistent look and feel. More importantly, it's kind of got all the actual information to populate this as well as doing the design. So it's done both things. It's created the content using AI, and it's also done the design using AI. Really impressive. Hopefully, my students are going to be engaged, blown away. And when we get to the interactive quiz at the end here, I can test them to see if they've been paying attention. And here are the answers. So that's a pretty impressive 30-minute class on the moon landing that I've created in less than 5 minutes using Gamma.app. But as I say, I think it's unlikely in a business context that you're going to be creating presentations from one prompt like that. So let's look at some other scenarios of how you would use it. Let's again go and create a new one, but this time, instead of generating it from a prompt, I'm going to import a file and use that file to create the presentation. So this could be another presentation that you've already created in PowerPoint that you want to make look a bit more professional using Gamma, or it could be a long document that you've created or that you've found that you want to turn into a more engaging presentation. So for this example, I wanted to go off and find the most boring, dry example of a document I can find. And I think I've nailed it. Check this out. This is the Resource Management Framework, part 1 of 2, the main document from the Victorian Government Department. And what have we got here? We've got 167 pages of very dry information from the Victorian Government. This is a typical example of a long document that no one's ever probably going to read. So let's see if we can make this into something more engaging using Gamma. I'll quickly download this PDF to my downloads, and then I can go back to Gamma and start by importing a file. So Let's upload the file. Here it is in my downloads. It's uploading that 167-page document, and we'll see what it can do with this. Okay, so it took a little bit to upload that file, given it's such a big file. And again, I'm going to be creating a presentation, and we go through the steps again of choosing templates, choosing the style, etc. So this time, let's go for a slightly more detailed. We're going to be doing it in English. That's fine. We'll choose a different template this time. Let's go for gold leaf. This is what I was talking about here. You can choose different types of AI images, either stock photos or illustrations or even animated GIFs. I really like illustrations in presentations, so I'll show you what that looks like. It's a really good use of AI. And we can choose the format here. Again, we're going for presentation. And I think we're ready to go. So it's created 50 cards. I don't have enough tokens for that. So let's go for something more minimal and let's hit generate. So it's creating a 10-card presentation for me here. And here we go again in front of our eyes. It's rolling out a presentation, but this time it's basing the whole presentation on that document that I've attached. So it's not going off and searching the internet and getting random information. You can be sure that it's using what's in the document that you've provided. It's always worth still checking. AI can get things wrong, so always make sure you've got a human in the loop checking what it's producing. But in this case, it's taking that 167-page document and turning it into, in front of our eyes, a really good-looking, amazing design with these illustrations. And this is something that is much more likely to get the message across than that long document. Look at this. I should send this across to the government and offer my services. Here it is, Victorian Government Resource Management Framework. We've got the legal foundation. We've got the account structure. We've got a nice little infographic here on integrated management cycle. Good to see the obligatory handshake image in there. That has to be in every government presentation, I'm sure. Management requirements, another sort of flow chart. So it's applied different styles, but kept the look and feel consistent across it. And this is what I really like. Like, look at these icons it's created. You can spend ages playing around with icons. It's kept them consistent and they're almost always bang on, and an accountability framework. So this is a really nice looking presentation from that 167-page document. And again, you can go in and obviously edit that manually, or you can play around with it using AI. So let's have a look at this slide and edit that with AI. It gives you a few options here, simplify the language, make it longer, make it shorter. It's got here how many tokens it's using for each of those options. Let's just try this button, which is try a new layout. Maybe we want to try something a bit different. And look at this over on the right. It's going to generate different options for the layout of that slide. So now over here on the right, I've got 4 or 5 different options for that slide. Maybe I like this one. And bang, I'll change that. And obviously you can go in and you can change images using AI, just choose a different image, or you can change the copy if you want things written in a more concise way or a more detailed way. And again, it's a bit like having a professional slide designer in your team and you're working with them to tell them what you want to do rather than you having to go in and do all the finicky editing yourself. It's a much more effective way of working. And this is ready to go. I can then present it to stakeholders. So I'll stop sharing there for a minute. I wanted to show you those 2 examples. The one prompt example where you one-shot it, you just enter what you want and it'll generate the presentation for you based on its own research, or where you're taking an existing document and loading that in and it's generating a presentation based on that. Really impressive way of demonstrating the abilities of Gamma, but to be honest, in real life scenarios, most of the time I'm not using it that way. Fortunately, I'm not having to take government documents and turn them into presentations. And I'm also not doing year 10 history classes. But what I am doing is often having to generate presentations for my work. And I had an example of that this week. I was asked to provide some executive training on AI. The CEO of this business is actually a fan of this show, so he'd been following my journey on this podcast, and he reached out saying, "Hey, I like what you're doing. I'd like to get you in to sort of share some of those ideas with my executive team." The idea being to help them get a bit more confident and excited about AI and understand how they can start using it. Now, I had a lot of this knowledge already in my head, and I obviously had all the previous episodes where there's a bunch of content. But in this case, I knew more or less what I wanted to be presenting, but I wanted to work through that. And the way I did that is I worked with ChatGPT, and this is how I'm using most tools these days. I'm using ChatGPT as my thought partner to do the planning, and then choosing the most appropriate tool to do the presentation layer, which in this case was Gamma. And this is the workflow that I'd recommend. So let me show you how this worked. So in this case, as you can see, I spent quite a bit of time going back and forth with ChatGPT, sort of brainstorming what I wanted to cover, fleshing out the ideas in a chat. And then once we were ready, I uploaded some relevant documents as well. And the reason I like using ChatGPT for this process is it already has the context of what I do. It's already got all those past chats of the topics that I've been covering on the podcast. So it's like working with someone you've been working with for a while rather than a brand new tool. And as I say, eventually we got to a point where, great, let's create a skeleton. I've changed the company name here, but put that into a canvas. And I've basically got a skeleton flow of what I want to cover in the training. And I've laid that out with bullet points and sort of thought out the process. So this is a more typical way of how I would work, where you'd be spending the time in ChatGPT brainstorming the idea, and then you take that and paste it into Gamma. And once again, I was able to generate a pretty professional looking presentation that sort of guided me through the training session. It was meant to be a really practical hands-on session, so I didn't really want to be spending a lot of time on the slides, but I just wanted some slides to sort of guide the flow of the session. And this worked really effectively. I was able to knock this up quite quickly, but it was also something I could share with the participants afterwards as a resource, just by sending them the link for this. And I had all the references in there of what we'd covered. So that's how I'm using these tools in tandem, and it's really making me more effective at my job. And it's a great example of how AI is enhancing us, because it meant I'm spending my time and my value in the putting the training together and thinking about the messaging of what I'm wanting to do, rather than spending my time doing the design work, which is a low value task. So I'm outsourcing that to AI, and it means I can focus on the area of most high value for me. So it's a much more efficient way of doing that. I probably spent 70–80% of my time in the thinking phase and 20% of my time in the design phase. Whereas in the past, you know how it works, you end up spending almost longer in the PowerPoint slides, playing around with things, trying to get it looking how you want. And it's really not where you should be spending your time in this case. So hopefully you can start to think how you might be using it in your work situations. I think it's a good tool for that sort of scenario I was talking about. If you're working in a corporate environment where there's strict IT usage and lots of templates, firstly, you can apply your brand style in the Gamma templates. There's obviously ways to create templates that use your consistent look and feel. You could just take one of your existing presentations and ask it to copy that. So you can definitely create consistent on-brand presentations in Gamma, and you can even download that as a PowerPoint if you still want to be working in PowerPoint. But I think for a lot of businesses, there's going to be other reasons why they want to stay within their existing framework of either PowerPoint or Google Slides. And those tools are adding similar AI functionality. I think what we see with Gamma is that it's been built as an AI first tool, so it's much easier for it to sort of move quickly, whereas these other tools are now retrofitting AI into them. So you'll definitely be able to work with PowerPoint or Google Slides in a similar way, and that's going to improve over time, where you can start to just tell it what you want rather than having to go in and edit it yourself. So choose your poison, basically, but I wanted to show you Gamma as an example of where the technology has gone and how you can be doing things in a different way using AI. One other quick sanity check, as I say, when you're using AI, don't outsource everything. You still need to stay in the loop. It can still hallucinate, make errors. So you need to be checking everything. And it's probably good practice also to be putting a little disclaimer on the bottom of anything that has been produced with AI. I think people expect you to be using AI, but it's best practice to be declaring when you have used AI. So you could just have a little statement on the bottom of your presentation that this was created using AI tools. The best part is it's great fun to be working with these tools. As you saw, it's actually quite fun to get in there and start using some of these new tools if you've got the time. So challenge yourself to do things the AI way, not just the way you've always done them. I hope you enjoyed that example. The training went really well, by the way. So if you are in a business or a leadership role and you're interested in getting a bit more training for yourself or your team, please reach out to me. I'd love to. I've now got the slides ready to go and the training session format ready to go. So please reach out, get in touch with me via LinkedIn or in the comments, or you can go to myway or the AIway.com and there's a contact form there. I'd love to come in and help your business as well. I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you did, as always, give it a like and please subscribe to the show on YouTube or wherever you're watching this so you get future episodes. And like I say, please reach out if you'd like to do some more AI training with your business. Thank you for being on this journey to learn more about AI. Until next week, I'm Scott Davison, and this is My Way or the AI Way.